Greetings to Joe and Jay Wheeler, otherwise known as the Joe Wheeler channel. So I love watching his channel. That is, when I can actually see it. And by that specifically, I mean sometimes his videos are very dark. I know that there's nothing that can be done about it, and I know in some cases I have some videos, lighting has been really, really terrible. So this is a channel update, and I've got lots of goodies laying there on the floor to go over. And the only reason why you see a little Kirby doodad there laying on the carpet is because I realized that I didn't have a vacuum piece in this particular shot, so I just threw this prop in there. So anyway, long time ago when I was using an LG G3 back in 2017 briefly, I had nothing but the flash available on the camera to help with low lighting. And sometimes I got good results and often I got really terrible results. So I upgraded to something I had lying around the shop, and that is what you see right over here. And if you think it looks like an old shop light, you would be right. And what's holding it up is a very, very old microphone stand, put all the way down, of course. Now that has been giving me some very, very good results with a standard, believe it or not, incandescent light bulb. Just a simple 100 watt. And yes, I have other light bulbs. I've got CFLs and LEDs and so on and so forth, but that's what I've been using until just now. So I have this little lighting doodad here, and that will give me a whole lot of light. The bulb that's in there is a 135 watt CFL running at 5500 degrees Kelvin. And when you turn it on, it gives you the equivalent of 675 watts of incandescent light. So it does something like that, which, yeah, I know, it kind of just blasts light everywhere. However, the nice thing is, this light box, so to speak, was only like $24. So the bulb is probably about half of what makes it up price-wise. Then the rest of it is some other very inexpensive stuff. And everything that I'm going to show you here that I have in those bags and a box all came from eBay and are all very inexpensive. So without further ado, I'm going to show you a whole bunch of other really nifty testing tools that we can do all kinds of stuff vacuum related, or at least mostly vacuum related. Now, with every light blasting at this pile of goodies, let's take a look at each item one by one. So this Kirby Turbo Brush I got a couple of years ago, and I've actually been trying to find the time to, well, go over it more or less. So hopefully I'll be able to do that fairly soon. It needs a little bit of refurbishment. So I paid $3.99 for it in a Goodwill store. Don't remember which one now because it was a while back. It is functional, but I think it needs a little lubrication. It needs to be taken apart and just generally kind of cleaned up. You can see it's made in Canada. So it's probably around 35 years old or so. Looks like it went to an earlier Heritage series, one that was this type of color scheme. I've got two Heritage 2 Legends, and it certainly will work and look just fine on those, as it would work on any Kirby that has a hose that still works, because they all plug into there. It's just fine. All right, enough about that. Let's take a look at our new goodie pile. So on the top, we have this digital tachometer. Say, what on earth am I going to do with that regarding vacuum testing? Well, here's what it comes with. Make sure I get a good focus with that. Cool. The little silver sticky strips. You need that. Or at least normally most people will use that. So this basically is an infrared laser in here that detects how many times it gets interrupted. So if I do something like this, oh, let's see, I'm kind of blocking the light here. Well, let me do it the other way. Here, give me some light. And if I interrupt that little red beam a bunch of times, it says, hey, you're triggering me. And this can read up to about 60,000 RPM. So I can go and check out motor speed, brush roll speed, or the speed of anything that interrupts that beam. Uses a 9-volt battery. And one of the coolest things is, not only is this thing really accurate because all it does is count pulses or beam interruptions. It only ran 10 bucks. So I got all this stuff on eBay, and I can't really post links to it because the links change, like maybe daily or weekly. Okay, so you'll see me measuring all kinds of things that spin or have a speed with this. On to thing number 2. Let's see what we have here. Ha ha ha. We have an infrared thermometer. And I can measure surface temperatures with this thing. If I can get it out of the box. And this is pretty cool. Let's see if I can get a good focus. There we go. So look at that temperature range. Minus 50 degrees Celsius, and you can convert that to Fahrenheit, and then plus 550 degrees Celsius. I think that's over 1,000 Fahrenheit. That's way up there. And of course, here's a little chart of distance versus area of detection. It's pretty nifty. I always wanted one of these, and now they are very, very inexpensive. Really something. So if I want to go and say, let me shoot the temperature. There we go. See that right there? See the little laser dot? So I've converted it over to Fahrenheit. So sorry, friends across the pond, we're still over at Fahrenheit here. You can flip it to Celsius if you like. But as you can see, you've got ambient temperature. Whoops. You've got ambient temperature on the top, ambient humidity, and then your target temperature down there. So pretty nifty. So I can measure maybe, I don't know, how hot a motor's getting, for example, or how hot my soup is. All right. Item number 3 from the new pile. Get out of there. I have this right here, TachLife brand, and it's a clamp meter. It's a multimeter, and when you go measure the current, you can clamp this around one of the wire legs if you've got a wire splitter, and you can measure the current. Say, why would I need that? What am I going to use that for? I already have a multimeter of sorts, the little white gauge that I use that can measure current. Well, this can measure really high currents and voltages, up to 600 amps and up to 600 volts. You can use the clamp. Kind of nifty. So what I can do, and what I'm planning to do, and I'll make a video of this at some point in time, turn the light on, is I will actually find out how much power my whole house uses. So I've got a fuse box that's rated for 150 amps. That's the main fuse in there. And I can say there's some pre-testing that I got my total home power usage up to 12,000 watts, 12 kilowatts. And that was with the dryer running on high heat, the oven running, the air conditioner running, and then various, say, TVs and other lights and whatnot. The thing is, I know I can probably go even higher, but this gives me the ability to measure things a little bit differently than what I already have. And I have a whole bunch of meters, just not anything that can measure via the clamp function. Nifty. And it does a whole bunch of other things too. You have ohms, you have continuity, you have capacitance, and you have temperature as well. And it has a spot down here where you can put in temperature probes. If I'm remembering right, I thought that this thing was actually good up to like 1800 degrees Fahrenheit. You can see there's the temperature probes. And here's just the regular leads. You can do all kinds of voltage and current measurements with. Well, that's a TachLife device. Not very expensive for these things anymore. Used to be a long time ago, but not now. Okay, we're making it through the pile. Let's see what we have here. I've wanted a new digital sound level meter for a long time. I have a more analog one I got back in the 1980s, and it's nice and it still works. But this one is super duper high tech, so much so it even comes with a software disk. And I've tried it out and it's pretty cool. So what this thing will do is give me the ability, let's see, I've got to turn the light on so you can see it, to read sound levels and actually record them. Here it has a USB output right there. So I can get charts and graphs and all kinds of continuous data. It's got a clock on it. There's a bar graph up here. The big thing that I see a lot of people do when they measure sound, unfortunately, is they measure the sound on the dBA scale or the A-Wade scale. And what the A-Wade scale does is it's all nice as long as you're above, like, say, the higher frequencies, 1 kilohertz and up. The problem with this is that when they measure something that has low frequencies in it, this won't measure right if it's on the dBA scale. And all the inexpensive meters out there, ones that cost like half as much as these or even less, unfortunately, you're missing some of the measurement. So I can change this one to a dBc scale, and that actually measures the full range of sound evenly. So low frequencies measure just as well as high frequencies in the dBc scale. When you switch it to A, not so much. It rolls off all the lower frequencies. So if you have a vacuum or anything else that you're measuring, it has hardly any low frequencies in it, then the A scale's probably okay. But otherwise, you need to go to the C scale so it can measure low frequencies. And let's see what else. I can change the weighing from, say, fast to slow, rather really the response time from fast to slow, so it makes things a little easier to read, so it's not so bouncy. Of course, you've seen the light, and then I have a record function and a peak hold function. But this is really cool. I've always wanted a digital one, and I've never had a good excuse to get one really up until now. Second to last new doodad. Hygrometer. And this is a new style that I've seen come out in the last couple of years. Let's see if I can get that to where it shows up okay without having too much glare on it. Not having too much success, but you get the idea. So this was only $6. And actually I got 4 of them so I can put it in various rooms in the house and measure temperature all over the place. Now I have this one set up to Fahrenheit, but as you can see, it gives me Fahrenheit to 1/10 of a degree, and then you see the humidity, and then also time, and you can use it as an alarm clock. But this is really fantastic for just $6, and they even give you the little batteries in here. Here, it's just a little AAA. So really nifty. And what I use this for, and I've used this in the past. I have a different one that's all black. It's a little bit thinner looking. Is I use it to go and specifically tell me what the humidity is in the room, so I know how long it'll take the carpets to dry. So if you're in a real high humidity environment, and by the way, it's been raining here a lot today, so 64% humidity, and I'm in my basement. If I go and try to really soak my carpets, they're going to take hours and hours to dry. But if I wait until it's, say, maybe 35% humidity, or if I get real lucky in the winter, it gets real dry, say 25% humidity, really wet carpets can dry in less than an hour. So that's what I use these for. And hey, you know what? For $6 to tell me what's going on room to room, oh, that's really fabulous. All right, last piece. And I saved the best for last. I got a new anemometer. Whoa. So it's very similar to the other type of anemometer I have, which was an unbranded GM 8901. And I think those are running around $30 these days. You know, prices fluctuate a bit. This was about double that. But this one does something that the GM 8901 doesn't do. Let's see how to open this thing here. Even comes in its little handy dandy carrying case. It's just a cheap plastic. But it's better than a cardboard box, which is what I have my 8901 in. So we have this detection vane here, and this is bigger than what comes with the 8901. So this one can handle the same amount of total CFM as the GM 8901 can, but it does it without straining quite as much because it's a larger vane. So this is good for up to 230 CFM. But so is the GM 8901. The only thing is, when you saw me use this to, that is the GM 8901, to go and measure the Kirby, and I got like 208 CFM, it was just screaming. Well, this one will scream a little bit less. And see, I got a little plastic still on there. But what this does, let me see if I can do this a little differently here. Get my hands around the camera. What this does is really just one thing that I've always wanted, and it's more of a convenience. Let's get the light on here. Light, give me light. You see, it says CFM, and that literally is a direct measurement. Here is the, oh, come on, light. Here's the conversion factor in here, which is different than the GM 8901 because the vane is bigger. And, okay, so in order to save battery, they definitely want to turn that light off quick. It literally reads CFM directly. So what you have to do is measure the inside area, not of the blades, but of this hole right here, and then convert it into literally a cubic foot, which in this case, rounded, is 0.031. And then guess what? This can actually measure the CFM completely directly, and it'll just read out here in the glorious little 4 digits. You know what? I need to take this off anyway. I don't need to keep that on. I don't want to have all that weird reflectivity in there. Yay! Okay, so really, really just super nice. I guess you have to push and hold that. I've used it just a little bit, but man, is it great. And it just reads the CFM out. And of course, I got a peak hold feature, and it does everything else, and it's really very nice. So unfortunately, something like this is around, say, $60 or so, and that's just what you got to pay. And all you really get for that is the ability to calibrate this thing with this little function right here and how many cubic feet you're trying to measure, and then you can get a direct measurement. Anyway, you're going to see a lot of usage with this, and the cool thing is I won't have to bring my crazy calculator out anymore. And it measures everything else in the same way that the 8901 does. So if you have an 8901 and you want to look for something that doesn't require a calculator, you can get something like this. When you see it's a hold peak, HP 846A. But the thing is it's going to literally be double the price, unfortunately. So just to go and get that calculator function in there, yeah, the price goes up, which is kind of unfortunate, but I mean, that's what you got to do. Okay, so I guess that does conclude the channel updates. I know there's a lot of stuff in here. I got a lot of new toys, and you'll see me using all of them periodically, especially this guy. So, thanks for watching, and stay tuned for more. Oh, and by the way, Joe, tag, you're it.